Hey guys, Erin Nicole, creator of the Move Happy movement. So what does science say in regards to creative arts infusion? So I found this short but sweet blog titled Arts Integration in School, 10 Reasons Why It's Important. Seneca Academy. So I personally love number 5 and number 7. I'm going to read them to you guys. So number 5 is integrating art with other disciplines reaches students who might not otherwise be engaged in classwork. And then number 7 says the arts provide challenges for learners at all levels. So because I, as a K through 12th health and fitness teacher in my beginnings of my professional career, I did not, some of you may or may not be aware of this. If you're not a health and fitness teacher, you probably don't know. I did not have any curriculum provided nor budget for PE and could have been frustrated. We did have a PEP grant in the district that I was in, but not all the schools were in on it, and you still had to work to design your own curriculum. It wasn't just like, here you go. They did have some lessons and things, but for the most part, I wanted to create my own because I didn't like what was available. And we didn't have any budgets and whatnot. So I was frustrated, but you make it work. And my undergrad, one of my favorite professors in my undergrad, who is the USA Women's Soccer sports psychologist, Dr. Hacker, her level of excellence was like way up here. And if you're a soccer fan, you know that they've placed first many times in the world for soccer, and I got to learn from her. So she actually required in one of her classes when I was in college that we all, and I think Frances actually covered the class, but I had heard about the assignment, and she kept the assignments the same for our guest instructor, who's a military spouse veteran. And I love her. I babysat her kids. But anyway, side note. So this assignment was for us to create some sort of piece of equipment that we could then use as a lesson for PE, because she wanted us to be as prepared as possible as PE teachers. And she knew that that was one of the big complaints when students graduated, then they didn't feel prepared as brand new teachers in the field of health and fitness. And she wanted us to take responsibility and not just make excuses like, oh, we don't have money, so my lessons are going to just be bare minimum. No, you step up your game. You step up your game and you're going to be a better teacher. And so that, combined with my own creative arts infusion and wanting to spice things up for my students, because I care about and I take pride in my work wherever I am hired at or wherever I choose to work as an entrepreneur. Now, I wasn't an entrepreneur back then, but that translated. That helped to create opportunities for me in the future, and I'm gonna lay it out for you. So I had to create the curriculum for pre-K all the way through college, and then because I was in graduate school, I was a graduate teaching assistant, and I highly encourage you to look that up if you are planning on going to grad school and you don't want to pay for it, because I was blessed with the opportunity to work at the university. They paid for my tuition at Oregon State, go Beavs, and then they paid me a monthly stipend. It wasn't gangsta money, but it covered my rent, and I had $25 in grocery money after I paid. Some of my student loans didn't qualify for deferment because I went to a private school in my undergrad. But it gave me enough to figure out how I could get my master's degree paid for. And I taught fitness classes. I taught 2-step aerobic classes, a cardio combination, and my first year, it was a combo guys and gals beginning weight training class. And then my second year, they realized that I was really good with women, and they had a high need for certain cultures of women, especially in the Middle East. They are not, in their religion and their faith, they're not allowed to undress, wear workout clothing. And it's not comfortable for them. So they created a class for me to teach women only weight training, and I got to design my own workout for my college students in that experience. And it was really fun for me because I was like, all right, guys, ladies, I know y'all ain't got no money because I was a college student before, and I'm broke right now too. So, but we can do a lot with our bodies. And so I designed a, I forget the title of the class. I think it was Women's Beginning Weight Training or something like that. But I met with them, I think it was 2 days a week for an hour each. So 2 hours a week. And one of the hours we did body weight exercises or dumbbells or a resistance band. And then the other day, I let them have choice time with the different machines so that they could try it out. And I would walk around and I would teach them good form. And we would have, girl talk conversations about life. And I would be able to help them prepare for when they get out of college, like listening to their dreams and goals and aspirations. And that was super fun. And by my second year doing and showing up consistently and taking pride in my work, my mentor of the aerobics department, Rochelle Schwab, who is I believe her husband was in the Army. I know she's a military spouse. She was an incredible teacher of future PE teachers. And she took me under her wing and she asked me, we had in the summer between my first year and my second year, Ann Asbell, who was in charge of all the PAC courses and scheduling them, whatnot. She was like my hired boss, but like Rochelle was like my mentor for helping me be a better teacher, if that makes sense. So we're at Ann's house and we're all like having this barbecue get together, all the PAC instructors and stuff. And Rochelle she talks to me in the kitchen and we're like eating the brownies she brought and everything. She's like, hey, I have a proposition for you. I want to help you prepare and have experiences to add to your resume that I think will really benefit you long term. And I also need some help because I've been teaching fitness classes for many years now and I've had multiple surgeries and I don't want to wear out my body. And the schedule that they have required for me, it's not working. So I'm thinking, if you're open to it, I'd like to split a class with you for the faculty staff paid fitness classes. They pay an annual or a quarterly fee. I don't know what they pay to Oregon State, but she and I did not teach step aerobics before going. I had one lesson in my undergrad under Tina Scanson, who's now Tina Streleski. I think because, and I love her, and I'm calling her out with love because she was pregnant at the time and hormonal, and she took pride in her class, but she did not let me teach any lessons. I had one lesson in 8 weeks, and I was supposed to be taking over all the classes, but I was also healing. I was going through some PTSD, undiagnosed, self-diagnosed, because I was raped in the summer before that. So I was not as professional as I could be. Like I own that. But she had provided me a curriculum of like, these are all the lesson plans and everything. So like she helped me prepare for grad school, like in her own way. So I didn't get to teach in person, but I had all of the materials, if that makes sense, for designing my own step aerobics classes. And so I learned. I sucked my first quarter, like sucked real bad. Like I had a student in the back of the class in my step aerobics class. I taught him at 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. And I forget the other times, but my 2 step aerobic classes were when you're new somewhere and you're like a last minute add-in, maybe you're a part-time employee, you get the crappy shifts. So I had a student all the way in the back that was texting on her phone in step aerobics. Can you imagine how pissed I was? Like, here I am trying to get you engaged and fit, and I had to own up to the fact that she was bored to death. So I went from that, like my first lesson, to then being asked to take over a paid class, or I should say split a paid class with my mentor who has years and years of fitness training. Like they featured her in the newspaper for the state of Oregon. Like she knew what the heck she was doing. And she saw that I was working hard. I learned real quick to not lose my scholarship. And I then translated that also. After grad school, the year after, I had a guaranteed position back at Bethel School District, but I graduated in 2012, and right before I graduated, so I graduated in June, in April I received a letter, my RIF letter, and a RIF is a reduction in force. Everybody, like, ain't nobody got money during that time. That was the tough recession, and you can put yourself in the timeline of that year where you were at in your job. I knew that I was getting laid off from this guaranteed job, and I had just been laid off before grad school, and that was why I jumped into grad school thinking, well, if I add another degree, then that'll protect me, and I still got laid off. And I was like, seriously, God? Like, what is going on? I love you, but dang, I wish you wouldn't trust me so much. And so I got laid off in April. I got the letter, so I'm like finishing up doing what I was supposed to do, getting my master's degree. Got invited to present my master's level project Asthma at a regional conference, songs and dances that I created with no professional choreography other than my summer school jazz camp for 1 week in the summers of high school with Roger Emerson, Kirby Shaw, and John Jacobson. I was invited to be a facilitator at a multi-state conference, teaching my own song that I wrote myself and my own choreography that I created. You guys, like, I'm not saying that to brag, but I'm good at creating things, and I learned that about myself. And each of these opportunities in my life where I've had to create something because I didn't have the provided materials to teach my students, I created something for them. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to actually present at the conference because it still was during the recession period. And their offer was I had to pay for a membership, and then I had to pay them to show up to then present my own information. So it wasn't a good offer for me. So I declined it. But I still was invited. And I looked at I wish, if someone has a copy of this would have been in 2012, so the conference in Montana. I think it was Bozeman, Montana, whatever the university was. If someone has a copy of the like pamphlet for the conference, it was called AFERD, American Alliance for Physical, AAH, American Alliance for Health, Physical Education, Recreation, and Dance. It's now called Shape America, and I was the only person in the whole conference that was doing anything related to dance. Like, I was the person, you guys. And I'm sure they had to like cross it off, and I bet there was a bunch of dance interested people that were like, you promised to have us, and probably paid for the conference, and they didn't. I hope that they deleted my information off of there so they didn't ruin my namesake. But in any case, I thought that was really neat how God could use me with only 1 year of PE experience in my K-12 upbringing. I was homeschooled till 6th grade, so I went to the YMCA as a child. I think we went 3 days a week. It was at least 2. We did either swimming, we did gym time, or we did gymnastics. And in junior high, Mom signed a waiver so I could skip PE because I was really invested and passionate about music. And she was like, well, Dad almost died when you were in 6th grade, so I don't really care if you're in PE or not because I'm going to make sure that we're walking every day after school anyway. And she focused on my passion, so I'm really grateful for that. Yeah, and I was doing all of that in graduate school, and then after graduate school, I had 5 part-time jobs. Like, I learned so much about myself in creating curriculum and creating and adding infusing arts while also balancing life, being at that point, we weren't married yet, but I considered myself a stepmom because he had moved his parenting plan to 50-50. And so they were at our house every other week, and we lived next to his parents. That was challenging because it was the home where his children grew up. And I told him that wasn't a smart idea, but you know what? Sometimes you got to speak louder to people, or you just raise your value, raise your level. There is a lot more in here, a lot more experiences in the text. When I had the 5 part-time jobs, one of them, this video is super long, so I'm going to put it on YouTube, but one of them was at the school district. They hired me back. The ones that laid me off in April called me 2 days before the school year, Michael Sandner, who I love because he's a huge supporter of the music company. And he would actually come to Seattle and sell hot dogs with us, and like he was super involved. Like we knew who he was. Like he was a friend of ours. Like he did a video for us. Like he set up our alumni on the Facebook group. Like he's a really good person. He called me and was like, hey, so we do have some monies available. I'm trying to get you hired back, but there's some bad news. It is a little bit less than what you were hired at before. I was a 0.6 FTE. It's going down to a 0.5. Are you interested? It's an elementary and an alternative high school. It's 0.2 at the alternative high school, non-continuing contract, which just means you're just doing it for that year, and then continuing 0.3, so a day and a half at the elementary. So I had to create an elementary level curriculum and an alternative high school curriculum, and let me break down. The alternative high school did not have a gym, did not have a locker room. It was mainly health lessons, but they got a PE credit for it. I don't know how legal that is, but Bethel School District can have their own audit of that. They did like 6-week rotational classes for 2.5 hours. So they had 2 hours in the morning and then a half-hour time with their like mentor teacher. I forget what they called it, but in any case, I taught 1 day a week there because a teacher got a 504 plan for herself. And if you're not familiar with that, it's like if you have a modification that you need for school for medical reasons, then it's an actual law, I believe. Well, she got one from her doctor for some medical condition that she had for stress. So she only worked 4 days a week, and I taught on Mondays, and then she taught Tuesday through Friday. And then Tuesdays I taught at Olympia School District, another alternative school, but this was completely different experience because it was homeschool kids and their parents, and they were super involved in their lives. They went to the school 1 day a week. Well, they went to my class 1 day a week, and I was to design my own curriculum to then assign them 4 hours of homework. I had never done that before, but she wasn't called a principal. I forget her title. Super cool lady, super cool. She let me do my thing. She paid me really good for the amount. I was just there for like an hour and a half, and I got, I think, $65, and I was like, yeah, that's good money. She said, we don't have a budget. Do you have any of your own curriculum? And I was like, as a matter of fact, I do have a school health book that I had to purchase for my undergrad in Dr. McConnell's class, who was my advisor. Thank you, Dr. McConnell, for picking a great curriculum for me to purchase while I was in college that I could just put on my student loans that will be paid off, I'm sure, by sponsors. And I was able to translate those lessons into lessons for my students and was able to create, we did a drug and alcohol unit, and we did another unit, I'm not sure. Oh, I remember like dental health, because I had my friend Nicole come in and teach a lesson. She's a dental assistant, or she was at the time. And I was super creative with everything and resourceful because I had all of these progressive steps of experiences that I had to be. And I'm so glad that I had to be. And then I also that same year was like a personal trainer. There's this 8-week wellness program at a chiropractor's office. So that was the one job that I lost by Christmas time because it just didn't make sense. Like they couldn't afford to pay me my value and my worth, and they didn't want to pay me if one of their patients canceled last minute, because they were like, but we didn't get the money, but you still want money. And I was like, but it's a 90-minute drive for me. That's a lot of gas money to then not be paid anything for my time. So that relationship fizzled out, and I'm okay with that because 4 out of 5 ain't bad to finish out the year. And yeah, by the end of the year, we did have the suicide in the family with my stepdaughter's boyfriend. They had broken up. She did like go to lunch with him and everything, and he did like a motorcycle or like a 4x4 accident without a helmet a few months prior, and I was like, he's not doing well. I knew, my intuition, I knew. And he did complete the deed of ending his life, sadly. He wrote a letter. I was at the house when I got the call from my partner, and he didn't want her to find out on social media because he had heard from the school, because they had found his body in the Olympia school district, not Olympia school district, in the Olympia forest. That was really hard. I was like 25 or 26. This was in 2013, was it? Yeah, it was 2013 because it was the year following, in the spring / right before summer. And I'm the one that had to talk to her. Like, I didn't sign up for that. I didn't think that I would have to deal with that, but God used that experience to prepare me to be a mental health advocate here 12 years later. Let's see, how old am I now? And I'm 35 now, so it was like 10 years later, 12 years later. Anyways, I'm not good with head math right now. I've had these opportunities to infuse art and to provide meaningful experiences that my students, my patients, my customers love. Because I'm being myself, and I take pride in my work, whether I get paid a lot or whether I don't. So I'd love for you to check out, I didn't even talk about my research appointment with the Army and Air Force, but you can read the text. This is I shared a lot in this one. This is dope. But yeah, you can read the article or the organization from Seneca Academy in the comments. I'd love your aha moments. I'd love to hear your stories if anything comes to mind. And most importantly, I'd love to hear if this impacted you in a positive way. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow.